Welcome back to part 2 of What If Yoda Killed Palpatine, Star Wars Explained. If you have not seen the first part, be sure to check it out, as you will be pretty lost without seeing it. Link will be in the description. Anyway, let's go ahead and begin. Vader's horrendous act would not go unnoticed, or bode well for the Sith Lord, as his first public appearance as the new Emperor was utterly terrifying to all. The HoloNet would quickly acquire footage of the incident and broadcast it to millions as they witnessed their new Emperor brutally kill several Jedi. Some would cheer, others would fall silent. Note here, I find this to be very interesting and I added it here to parallel with some real life events. People are often quick to condemn others when they don't actually have to witness the results, but advocating it before actually seeing the results is a dangerous thing. With the Jedi, Bail again would take Leia, but this time Yoda and Obi-Wan would keep Luke, their logic being that the boy could potentially be the key to everything. Not only is he extremely powerful, but he's also the new heir to the Empire, as Vader is his father, and if the Jedi could manage to prove this and kill Vader, the galaxy could be brought to peace once more. The children again would have to be separated, even farther this time, as Vader would be constantly searching for his wife, and as a result, Luke and Leia, and in this scenario, he's unsure what her ultimate fate was. Several years would pass, as Vader would find his grasp on the Empire slipping, as large pieces would break off, run by other Imperial members, citing Vader as a savage and calling him a droid. Many rumors would stir that Vader was in fact General Grievous, and that the droid general killed Palpatine and took his place as Emperor. Despite all of this, Vader would care little, as his only desire would be the destruction of the Jedi and finding his wife. With the Empire breaking apart, Obi-Wan and Yoda would reunite on Alderaan, calling to the other Jedi, explaining hiding was no longer an option, and to rendezvous with them and plan an attack while the Empire was divided. While Vader's grasp on the Empire was slipping, his grip on the Jedi would be tightening, and the Jedi Masters would determine it was only a matter of time before he found them, and Luke. At this point in time, Luke would have undergone basic Jedi and political training, and was ready to claim the Empire, but only absolutely if it came down to it. Obi-Wan and Yoda for days would await the arrival of the other Jedi, but none would come, completely wiped out by the might of Emperor Vader. For years, Vader had not only focused his own efforts, but the efforts of the entire Empire on eradicating the Jedi. But still, Obi-Wan and Yoda thought there might have been a few remaining Jedi. They had hoped that some had survived on the edge of the known galaxy, or potentially even beyond, but to the sadness of the Masters, no one came. Together, the two Jedi would be forced to depart Alderaan alone, leaving the Skywalker twins in the safe hands of Bail Organa. On the bridge of the nearly half-complete Death Star, Vader would stare into space, feeling as though the galaxy was about to change, but unable to see how. He had continued the work on the Death Star after discovering it following his master's demise, but he had never truly valued its power. The weapon had been so important to Palpatine, and this in some way puzzled Vader, as someone as gifted in the Force as Palpatine surely should have seen what Vader saw. But still, he owed the former Emperor a lot. Not only had he handed the galaxy to him on a silver platter, but he had opened his eyes, and granted him great power. In truth, Vader even believed he had saved him on Mustafar. As he laid on the volcanic shore, he had felt his life drift away, even his hatred not enough to keep him alive. But he had suddenly felt a momentous shift in the darkness, moments before death. Just as the Jedi claimed they strengthened the light after their deaths, the greatest Sith who had ever lived strengthened the dark, just enough for Vader to pull from it, and just enough to keep him alive. A final piece of irony before his master perished, Vader thought. Because of these reasons, Vader had continued with the Death Star project. Although gone, he owed Palpatine that. The station was a great resource to pull from after all, more so for the implications of the potential it had, more so than the station itself. But still, Vader deemed it inferior to his own power, and the ability not only to destroy, but create. Suddenly, Vader's concentration would break, as alarms around the station would sound, as the observation room lost all power. Vader would begin to see it more clearly now. The change he was feeling was not a new force at all, but a light he had assumed was put out nearly a decade ago. But it had returned. Dim, but present. The Jedi were returning. Vader would signal for two of his royal guards to follow him as he walked down a now dark corridor of the Death Star. Halfway down the hallway, Vader would pause. As his guards froze beside him, he would stand motionless, taking in every sound, every movement. He would then slowly reach to his belt, removing his lightsaber, but not activating it. Suddenly, he would whip around, bending to one knee, and igniting his saber just in time to see the blue flash of his former master's weapon. The two would lock stairs, the formerly dark hallway now painted with the fury of crimson, but also the hope of blue. Vader would quickly stand, pushing his weapon forward, and throwing Obi-Wan back through the strength of his armor. Vader would raise his weapon above his head, adopting the attack stance of Djem So, but he would hear a sound that caused him to freeze where he stood. Across the hallway, he could hear the sound of a light tap. He had heard it before. Previously, it had brought him hope. Years ago, after being maimed and nearly killed by a Sith Lord himself, that very sound is what gave him a sense of safety in the presence of such evil. Vader would not stay stationary for long. Barking for his guards to attack Obi-Wan, he moved to the end of the hallway. Vader's royal guards activated lightsabers of their own, themselves trained in combat by the Dark Lord. Obi-Wan willingly would let Vader break off, still retaining the hope Vader had lost. What began as a march would transform into a sprint as Vader raised his weapon again above his head. The tapping sound would cease, followed by the intense sound of footsteps of their own. Around the corner, Yoda would emerge, smashing his body into Vader with surprising force. Vader, caught off guard, would be thrown back, barely remaining on his feet. The corridor would then greet the color of green, as Yoda again sprung at Vader. Yoda's strikes would be so fast, so intense, much quicker than anything Vader had seen before. But the Dark Lord would not be stopped. However close, he managed to deflect every lightning-fast strike. As the Jedi Grandmaster and Lord of the Sith clashed against the narrow space, Obi-Wan would be a ways down the corridor, defending against the royal guards. Yoda would jump into the air, his feet even touching the ceiling as he pushed his momentum towards Vader. Barely catching the attack, Vader would stumble backwards. Yoda again would push in advance, jumping and swinging at the Dark Lord with surprising accuracy. But a fatal flaw would present itself. Vader would notice the Grandmaster had ever so slightly slowed. His old age truly would be the end of him, Vader thought. Timing it perfectly, Vader focused all his force power into the manipulation of one arm, seizing Yoda by the throat. With all the strength of his cybernetic arm, Vader would squeeze Yoda's throat, feeling the bones crush through his cybernetic sensors. But Yoda would not be done yet. With immense power, he would muster a force push, sending Vader through the wall of the corridor and through several additional walls as his lightsaber flew from his palm. Yoda would then fall to the floor and slump up against the wall. Slowly standing, Vader could feel the anger within him. His cybernetics were badly damaged, but his fury had never known such power. Reaching out for his weapon, his lightsaber would again greet his grasp. As Vader charged forward through the wreckage of the now destroyed walls, his lightsaber pointed forward and tightly held against his chest. Vader would plunge the lightsaber at the Grand Master in a stabbing motion, so precise it was surgical. But again, the Jedi would defy him. Raising his hands, the Jedi Master would catch the blade against his own chest, barely preventing it from piercing his body. Sparks would erupt from Yoda's palms as he held the blade. A shocked Vader would yell in frustration, pushing his saber towards the chest of the Jedi with all the strength of his cybernetics. The two would war for a brief moment, as the purest form of the light clashed with the purest form of the darkness. Out of the corner of his eye, Vader would catch the glow of blue plasma as he attempted to break off his attack on Yoda, but he would suddenly fall forward. The blade of the Sith would extend through Yoda's body, but the momentum of the attack would send Vader towards the wall. In an instant, both the Jedi Grandmaster and Emperor were dead, as Obi-Wan removed Vader's head through a powerful strike. On the far end of the hall, Vader's two guards would also lay motionless, their armor scarred by the blade of a lightsaber. Obi-Wan would slowly rise, tears moving down his face as he felt a great weight leave the Force. Standing for a moment, the Jedi Master would hear the voice of Yoda telling him to run, that the galaxy was not safe yet. Obi-Wan was aware what needed to be done. Leaving the bodies of both Yoda and Vader, he fled the space station. Back on Alderaan, Obi-Wan would find the boy Luke playing in a garden. The Jedi would go to the boy, asking to speak for a moment. Confused, but happy to see his teacher again, Luke would go. Obi-Wan would tell Luke his life was about to change, that he was going to face things no Jedi had before, but that he believed he could do it. What happened to Master Yoda? Luke would ask. Tears again coming to Obi-Wan's eyes, he would tell Luke it was time he learned the truth. The whole truth. So that was What If Yoda Killed Palpatine Star Wars Explained. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a like. Also, if you have other what if suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I do read all of the suggestions, and who knows, your what if might be next. If you haven't yet, maybe consider subscribing to ensure you stay up to date with everything Star Wars related, and of course, the what ifs. Thanks so much for watching, may the Force be with you, and have a great day.